What is up, everybody? Welcome to this Trainwreck Sports Podcast, where we are not here to play school. We are here to break down the college football slate for this Saturday. Jake Micah, as always, joined by my co-host and brother, Alex Micah, and we are brought to you by Batavia Downs, the premier gaming destination in Western New York. Mo, great slate this last week. Great slate this week. We're right in the thick of it. End of October. Next week's November football. Can't believe it's week 9. Where did the time go? It goes so fast.
Yeah. Well, it starts in August. I mean, that's what gets you.
That's true. It's been a good 2 months.
Honestly,
already.
when you think about it, it's because like you go from end of August until middle of January. It's a pretty long season, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's so much gap in December. Now though, with more playoff games, there's going to be more happening.
It won't be as much of a gap. Yeah, and conference championship Saturday could be as bigger than ever. That's the thing is that there could be elimination games in the conference championships for teams. Like they could be like win and in scenarios where I can't wait. But we got to get there first. We've got a fun slate this week. Not like a typical, I would say, huge slate of games, but probably an elimination game in the SEC for the playoff. I would assume so, at least there. Potentially the number 1 team getting tested in the country. Oregon being number 1 just doesn't look right to me. They're gonna lose one of these games down the stretch. It just doesn't look right.
I don't
like seeing the 1 again. It just doesn't. I don't know. I just don't. I think it's gonna go.
We'll get to that game. We'll get to that game.
There going on. Yeah, let's start off. We as always talk about the 4 biggest games, and we got to start off with the big one Saturday night. LSU at Texas A&M. This is the elimination game right here. One of these teams loses, I think they're out of the playoff race.
You think? Because
I think so.
My only reasoning why I don't know is because I guess hypothetically it's both teams have 1 loss on the season already. LSU's to USC back in week 1, and Texas A&M's loss was to Notre Dame back in week 1. Neither of them have a conference loss yet. So hypothetically, they're both in play for the SEC championship, and they have
that is
coming
true.
up. I mean, they have teams that would be ahead of them in the SEC on their schedule still coming up. Texas A&M still has Texas at the end of the year. LSU still has Alabama. I think is it next? Yeah, it's next week they play Bama, or is it 2 weeks? They play Bama coming up. Either way,
it's first Saturday in November, so I think.
Next week, is LSU Bama. So I mean, I don't know if it's a full-on elimination game for either of these teams.
Okay, that's fair.
I think, at least for the playoff, I think you could say it's a pseudo-elimination game for an SEC title championship and being able to compete for that. I think that's what we're looking at here. But I'm excited for this game just because this game historically, at least in the last 6 years, we're talking about they're both 3-3 against each other. Neither team has won on the road in quite some time, and it's always an exciting game. Going back to 2018 when it was the insane 7 overtime game between the teams, and the game that
when overtime was real.
Yeah, I was gonna say the game that made them change. The game that made them change the overtime rules to the 2-point conversion, because I think it happened like 2 years later.
That's a gripe I need to pick at some point. I hate the 2-point conversions. I really dislike the 2-point conversions.
It's dumb.
We want 7 overtimes of teams starting at 25.
This game was so exciting.
Who was complaining that the game was going on for 5 hours? ESPN probably. That's the only people.
I think it's a stats thing too. Is partially the reason that they do it. Is because it's like Kellen Mond had like 8 touchdown passes in that game.
Things with overtime is so easy though. You just cut them off in regulation. Overtime stats don't count towards the regular season.
That's fair.
And then you can have an overtime statistic like section and everything that can put it in their total stats, but it would be regulation stats. 60 minutes. That's fair. That's the easiest fix.
That's fair.
It's whatever though. It drives me nuts. But to each their own. Yes, they did have the 7 overtime game. They played a ton of games against each other. Neither, as you said here, neither winning on the road since 2016. So A&M being home, huge. It probably is what makes this game an even line, because I think LSU would have been a decent favorite. I like this LSU team better than this A&M team, but A&M is just so tough in that building, and they are obviously the line is it's up to 1 point now favorite for A&M, but it's just I don't know. I've just liked LSU a little bit more this year than I've liked this A&M team, but maybe that equalizer being home. And I didn't want to believe in LSU. I'm a late adopter to LSU, but I think that they've shown enough of that offense, and Nussmeier's just gotten better every single week. Honestly, he looks like a different quarterback than he did from week one. And he didn't look bad against USC either, but he looks like a different quarterback now.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, he's sixth in the nation for passing yards. He's second in the conference, only behind Jackson Dart, who he went up against head to head and beat him in overtime. Gabriel, he's
and had one of the best
throws
of the season to score late in that game, like throwing the guy open, for a touchdown, just crazy.
Yeah, he's playing great football right now. And Kyron Lacy, who's a senior, and he's not talked about as many as like these other LSU receivers. Obviously, like they had last year, 2 of them going out in the first round. And he's not. I mean, I don't think he's going to put up stats like those guys, but that place is just fucking churning out great wide receivers, and it's kind of ridiculous. It just like how much talent comes in there and is coming out. I mean, that's their wide. I mean, as you see on Twitter, people argue between like LSU and Ohio State about who wide receiver U is, and I think just from pure talent standpoint, honestly, I think it's got to be LSU. Just from watching these games and the NFL talent. And I mean, Kyron Lacy, I don't think he's gonna be a first round pick, but this dude, he's probably gonna be like a 3rd or 4th round pick. Honestly, he's just gonna be another wide receiver that's going in. And he's been great against top opponents this year. 12 catches, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns against top 25 opponents this season. So I expect a big game out of him.
Yeah, I expect that too. So what's your feel on this game overall? What are you thinking?
I think LSU, just because I think they're a better team. And going to A&M, I don't know. Like it's a mixed bag for me about A&M because like everyone talks about it that it's like this like intense environment and it's hard to play against and it's home of the 12th man. I don't know. I mean, they win a big game there every now and then, but I guess that's the case. Like you always people talk about with like the whiteout for Penn State, where the record in the whiteout isn't like that impressive. Yeah, because you're playing your toughest opponents there.
Yeah.
A&M doesn't really have the exact thing like that that they do, but they are wearing their blackout uniform.
They are the home of the 12th man.
I know, but does it? I don't know. Does it matter that they have that tagline? I think so. I don't know.
I think LSU 21 though they've had that tagline. I looked it up the other day. I was actually looking up the 12th man. 1921. I think it's fair. I think A&M has a real home field advantage. I think that's fair to say. I think it's tough to go in there and win. And I
don't think it's tougher than any other SEC environment. Is my take. I think it's a good environment, but it's not better than any other SEC environment.
All right, but they're all it's there with LSU. I think it's as tough as LSU can be, or the swamp if Florida was.
I think that stadium pulse is like low compared to if you're in Death Valley at a night game.
No. Yeah, I think you're just hating on A&M. I think that's what this is.
Maybe I am just hating on A&M.
I think that's what it is. The A&M's got it legit. Like I think that this might sound blasphemous, but I think A&M's atmosphere is better than Texas's at a game usually. Like it seems louder and the stadium's better than that one. I don't really like Texas Stadium that much. I don't know what it is. I think it's maybe like the open part at the end. It just doesn't feel like it should like as big and grand as the Texas law have for their.
I mean that's fine, but I don't think anyone's saying that Texas is like number one. I'm just saying I'm saying that I think A&M's is what is like A&M has any case as anybody. It's the biggest stadium in Texas for sure. Like for college. Kyle Field. Yeah, Kyle Field.
Like 109,000 people or something.
I think it's like 104,000. I want to say.
It is. Yeah, 102,000. So.
102,000. Okay.
More than Neyland?
Neyland, I don't care about. Everyone hypes up Neyland. It's whatever to me.
Neyland's hype too. See, you're just disrespectful.
They're not Big Ten environments. They're not.
Okay. All right. Yeah. The illustrious.
It matters more. It matters more.
Yeah. Yeah. All these teams are lighting it up. Here. So you're picking LSU.
I'm picking LSU. I think it is going to be a close game. I don't want to say sloppy, but I mean, like, I think they'll probably be like a turnover on each side, whatever that be.
Kyle Field, the fourth biggest in the country.
Kyle Field's the fourth biggest?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what the top 3 biggest are? The Big House, Beaver
it's
Stadium, and the Shoe.
Schools, I know.
Big Ten. Yeah.
Ohio Stadium has Kyle Field by 47 people. So I think it's pretty even.
Well,
I think we can
maybe some boosters.
Tiger Stadium is 5th, and they're like only 400 behind Kyle Field. So all those 3 schools are pretty close.
Maybe some booster for A&M should kick in another 50 seats, figure it out somehow, some renovation, so they could be the third biggest.
But there are 100,000 at Darrell K. Royal Stadium, which it doesn't.
It's a good size. I think it's 6. Is it 6? But no, it's like 9th biggest, right?
It is 8th.
8th biggest. Third biggest in the SEC.
No, that's Neyland, 101.
Oh, so it's 4th.
You're hating on Neyland, and Alabama's ahead of Texas as well.
Well, it doesn't matter about the size necessarily. It's about the actual.
I think the size is a huge part in the noise.
No, I'm not saying it's not a big part, but I'm saying that it's about actually the crowd environment. And A&M, yeah, it's big, but it doesn't mean that it's on the same level.
A&M's got a good environment. You're hating. I'm thinking A&M just because of this disrespect.
That's fine. You can pick up LSU 28-24.
I got 31-28 last second field goal win for the Aggies. They go home happy.
Okay. All right. We didn't talk about A&M's quarterback at all. Connor Wigman, who retook the starting job from Marcel Reed. He had missed a few games. He was hurt. He retook the starting job though. Mike Elko said that Reed took it like a champ, honestly, and was super mature about it, going back to the backup role. And I think he knows that. I mean, that team is him. It's his probably next year. So I think that's why he understands it. And then we have running back Le'Veon Moss, who is carrying that team. Kind of crazy. 674 yards, 8 touchdowns on the season. Is a major part of that offense. So LSU's going to try to have to shut down the run game if they want to win that game. Like I said, I think it's going to be
where A&M's strength is in the trenches too. That's the Elko team, is he's going to build through the trenches. So it's if the Dogs can hang out with LSU, and that's been LSU 6-1, right? But I've not been a huge believer in them this whole year, and even with the impressive win last week against Arkansas, the South Carolina game, and Ole Miss is a good team, but they can be got, I think, by a good team. I think this is a really tough environment. Also could be the trap game, as we're talking about. They got Bama next week at home.
That's true. Looking ahead. A
little look ahead action. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna buy into my bit now and go with the Aggies here. All right. That's the big game on Saturday. There's another one though. I think this is just as big as anything else. We have the undefeated Navy midshipmen taking on Notre Dame at MetLife Stadium, which I did not realize was happening.
I don't know why it's at MetLife.
Because Notre Dame does a game in a random stadium every year.
Where
it's technically a road game, but it's somebody else. And I don't know why Navy would. I guess because Commander Stadium is a shit show, so they're not going to go to that stadium. I guess there's enough people, Navy people, that would go up to New York City.
No, they should go.
Philly could have been a good idea too. Philly would have been. But I guess they already play there.
What's the name of Baltimore's? I don't know the name off the top of my head. What's the Ravens Stadium?
Yes, but the Ravens play. I believe the Ravens play at home Sunday, and same with the Commanders. The Commanders play at home Sunday too. I don't think the Giants or Jets are home this week. I believe that's part of it.
That
Jets
would make
are in
sense.
New England, and Giants are in Pittsburgh. So I guess just like a neutral site. These teams got national fan bases. They're gonna pack that place out with Notre Dame and Navy fans, probably that just live in New York City, honestly. So it's gonna be a fun environment for sure. This game always delivers. I feel like, and maybe not always delivers, but I feel like we've gotten some iterations of it where it's either Notre Dame blows them out or Navy is pulling off one of the craziest upsets of a top
or at least keeps
Notre Dame
it close.
Team. It's something like that. This is a different story now. Even with the 14-point favorite as Notre Dame, the Navy midshipmen undefeated. This won't affect them for the American at all, which is nice for their playoff hopes still. But if they beat Notre Dame today, I mean, how far does Navy go up if they beat Notre Dame? Like it's
I
a
mean, they have to be a
huge
top 50.
opportunity for this team. It's the biggest. It's there as much as Army Navy is the biggest deal in the world, right? One of the greatest rivalries we have in college football. But Navy and Notre Dame is Navy. This has been a game that's been going. How long has this game been going on for? Let's see what we got here. 96 all-time meeting.
Yeah, 96.
And Notre Dame's dominated them, but it's. Why was 2016 in Jacksonville? See, they've been doing this with this game. They
do go to random. They go to random places. I don't know why 2016 was in Jacksonville.
That's so weird. This
shout out Shad Khan.
This game is now down to 13.5 as well. So people are betting on Navy.
First meeting was 1927.
Wow.
So I don't know why it was in Jacksonville.
The Naval Academy versus the Catholics. Who would have thought?
I guess it just. Oh well, so Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, due to its relatively small size.
So they just want to play it in bigger games.
It's never been played there before.
In Annapolis, really?
It's never been played in Annapolis.
Okay, this is good. This is good research because I never knew that. But that makes a lot of sense. If that they just want to pack it out and it's their home game, and then they'll just go to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
On the off years.
They've had it at M&T Bank Stadium, so Baltimore. Okay. They've had it at FedEx Field. They've had it at MetLife. They had it at Giant Stadium. They had it at JFK Stadium, which obviously is not that anymore. Yep. Yeah, I mean, so just they've had it all over. Also, Naval Air Station Jacksonville and Naval Station Mayport are located in Jacksonville. That's why they had the game there. So when they have it at other locations, it's because of
What get this game in? Well, they don't want to put this game in Chicago. That's a home game for Notre Dame.
That is basically a home game for Notre Dame. Yeah,
I was like, get this game out here. What are you talking about? But no,
they should have a game. I mean, there's no NFL. I mean, they should have a game in San Diego. Honestly, I don't know why they haven't done that before. There's a huge.
They're staying on the East Coast too.
That's
part of the thing. They're trying to avoid the Midwest because that'll be all Notre Dame. They stay on the East Coast with the Navy. Go there.
I didn't put this in. Do you know where the last game was played? They played last year.
Well, it was Notre Dame last year, wasn't it?
No, it was in Dublin. They were in Ireland.
Oh, that's right. Right.
It was a week 0 game. They played in Ireland.
And they smoked them, didn't they? It was like 50.
Yeah, it was like 45 to 3 or something like that. That was when people thought Sam Hartman was going to win the Heisman because he beat up on Navy week 0. Yeah,
because he beat up Navy. Well, now listen, if Riley Leonard beats up on Navy, who knows? You never know. Maybe
he doesn't have the He doesn't have the numbers. I mean, he's doing good as a dual threat quarterback, but.
This is interesting because Notre Dame at 6-1 on the season right now. Obviously, they have to. They don't want to be at 10 wins when it comes down to it for the playoff selection and not have a chance to automatically qualify. The toughest games they have for the rest of the season are Navy and Army, which is ridiculous. That USC game will be tough at the end of the year, no matter what. But SC is clearly not the team. SC is. The thing with SC is they clearly can't win on the road in the Big Ten. That's going to be that's the thing we can make fun of SC for forever. Like, good luck coming to the Midwest and winning games. But when they're at home, they're a much different team this year than they've been anywhere else. So that'll be a tough game too. But this Notre Dame team, they really have to be 11-1 with the way this, like you have the schedule, the way it's worked out. Like they have some decent wins over A&M and Louisville, but Navy and Army aren't going to move the needle for the committee. SC really isn't at this point. And then they got Florida State and Virginia. And they're all these games are – this game's at MetLife. Then they got 3 games at home, 1 on the road. So it's really like they should win out. And if they don't win out, I don't think they deserve a playoff spot, honestly.
I mean, they're not in the playoff right now. The way – at least ESPN, the official college football playoff hasn't come out yet, the first rankings from the committee. But when ESPN does it next – when ESPN has been doing it, and they've been doing it based off the AP, Notre Dame is one of the first teams out, and it's. I mean, they're really going to have to.
Look at they have to be 11-1.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be tough.
I think at 11-1, Notre Dame will get into the.
I mean, it's possible. I wouldn't say no.
They're not keeping out Notre Dame if they're 11-1.
Yeah,
they're putting Notre Dame in that playoff.
We'll see.
Remember that the Notre Dame AD created the playoff. Like he was the mastermind behind this playoff. Notre Dame's getting in if they're winning 11 games. They might be guaranteed a spot in if they get 10 games, honestly, for all we know. But this game in general, on the field, Navy's going to try to run the shit out of the ball, as you know that Armed Forces do. They have, what is it here, 274 rushing yards a game, fourth in the country. Horvath has been awesome rushing and passing, as you said here, 888 yards passing, 621 rushing. Navy's defense is a hound. It's going to be. Do you think this is a low-scoring game? Because I imagine it's going to be a low-scoring defensive game. Because Notre Dame's defense under Marcus Freeman has been good the last couple of years. So I expect them to show out a little bit.
I don't know, because I mean, if they can't stop Navy on the ground, I mean, Navy has a top 5 scoring offense, and that's being with a massive rushing offense. I could see it where it's not. I don't want to say a shootout, but I could see it getting into like the 30s for this game, honestly, between these two teams.
Okay. You think the rushing offenses do better than the rushing defenses?
I think so. Yeah, I just think because Navy's like so predicated on it. And they have a like lockdown corner in Deshaun Peel, who has 3 picks on the year, so not crazy, but 2 of them he's ran back for touchdowns. So Red Leonard, who is not an elite passer by any means, I mean, it's gonna be dangerous for him to put it in the air a lot. And usually you think if it's running the ball a lot, it's not going to be a high-scoring game. But I don't know. I could see these teams just breaking off. I could see this like having a couple of these teams, these guys having drives where it's like one play 75 yards because someone just breaks off and rips one. And then, and it's just fast. It's fast scoring that way. So I really want to pick Navy just because it'd be funny if Notre Dame loses, and so Navy can stay undefeated. And just keep on climbing up. Yeah, why not? I'll pick Navy just for fun. Let's 30. Yeah, I think 35-31. Why not?
I'm taking Navy too.
Yeah.
I don't think this Notre Dame team's a playoff team. I just don't think they're a playoff team. I think that they're playing a tough team this week. Navy's. I think Navy wants more. I think they get it done.
I don't think they can be. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team until they bring in a homegrown quarterback. And can train them up themselves instead of going to the portal like they've done the last few years.
They got to spend some money then.
They got it.
They got to spend that money. That's all it comes down to. I think, but that's the quarterbacks they're paying are definitely guys who are not top tier money. It's definitely middle tier money. Like probably still a good chunk of change, but it's not Cam Ward money.
No,
that's what we're saying here. Like Cam Ward.
That's true.
That's where they got to play. Riley Leonard money is different than Cam Ward money. Sam Hartman money, not the same as somebody from last year.
I don't know what Sam Hartman money looks like.
Dylan Gabriel money is bigger than Sam Hartman money. Like that's
what they're trying to get Sam Hartman a sponsorship deal. Jaden Daniels pushing for it on social media. I saw that he's trying to get him signed somewhere. Yeah.
There we go. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're both picking Navy. Let's do it. Yeah. Might as well. We're staying in the state of Indiana though. The Washington Huskies traveling to the number 13 undefeated Indiana Hoosiers, who just decimated the I have the wrong spread here, I think.
It's 6. Yeah, I was just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just saw the 13 again and
yeah. That's why I wanted to look, because when I had typed that, I wanted to make sure that I was like, well, did something happen? Is that why it's minus 13 now?
It's a 6-point spread. 6-point spread. Sorry about that, folks.
Big Noon.
No, it's not Big Noon. It's not Big
Ten.
It's
Big Noon. Oh no! No! You're right. Big Noon is Nebraska Ohio State. My bad.
Yeah.
It just happens to be at noon. That's a Big Ten.
I'm sure that I'm sure that Fox executives were not happy that Nebraska completely laid an egg last week for their big noon Ohio State Nebraska matchup, because Indiana just torched that team. But maybe these Hoosiers are just that good with Kirk Cignetti. Now they haven't played a great schedule.
All he does is win.
But he's gone everywhere and won, as we saw JMU beforehand in the last couple of years. But they're 7-0 right now, and they've got this game with Washington, which Washington's a tough team. But if this is at Washington, I'd be a lot more concerned than Washington coming across the country to Bloomington. And then the rest of the year, Mo, at Michigan State, Michigan, at Ohio State, home to Purdue. they should be 10-0 going into Columbus.
Yeah,
Like they
should be.
realistically, there's no if they're not something went wrong. And I think that they could play in the game with this Ohio State team. We'll see with a common opponent this week with Nebraska, if Ohio State has trouble with them or not. But I don't know. That just it feels like that's a spot where we've seen the Buckeyes, slip up in years past, where it's like a team that's like high ranked, not, you don't expect them to lose though in that situation, and then something crazy happens late November. This Indiana team's a lot of fun. They've been really good. I don't think they have a problem with Washington on this game, but here we are. I mean, we have to talk about this team from after last week's performance, where game days there this week, big noon there last week, big atmosphere. The crowd showed out, and they just didn't let anything get to their heads. They came out and handled business, and so now they got game day here. They got, for the first time ever, and this Washington team, 4-3, they got a big win against Michigan. But how good is Michigan? And they were at home, on the road. I think Indiana rolls here, but it'll be fun to see them on game day. But we do have to talk about them having a different quarterback. But
it is. I mean, that's the thing. Is that, like, I don't know how much is going to matter. Curtis Rourke has been playing awesome football.
Yeah, he's great.
And I mean, he's gonna miss. They said they don't think he's gonna miss much time, but who knows? With a thumb, I mean,
yeah, he should be. The last thing I saw is they are hopeful that he could play next week against Michigan State. So
yeah, but so they got Taven Jackson, who was on the team last year, and he stuck around with a new head coach. And hasn't played bad in the limited time he's gotten this year, mostly because they're just like in blowouts. So I think it's just more of a test on him going up against a top 20 defense. Washington's defense is 16th in the country. They're only letting up 17 points a game. So, I mean, obviously on paper, Indiana is just a much better team. That offense is just buzzing. And I mean, they're first in the. I would never have thought that Indiana would be the first team in the nation for points. It's 48.7 points a game that they're scoring, which is just absurd. And I mean, they topped that last week. They scored 56 when they beat Nebraska. And that's some miscues by Nebraska in that game that led to it. I mean, the first quarter was pretty close actually, and then they just blew them out. But I don't know. Will Rogers, when he was at Mississippi State, who's now at Washington, was never like he was a good quarterback, Mike Leach guy. So he was throwing a lot, had a lot of touchdowns, a lot of passing yards. But it wasn't like he was like winning the big games in any of these competitions. So I don't know. I stick with just Indiana, just getting, they don't seem like they're looking ahead to anything. They just are taking care of business every week. And to go by Kirk Cignetti, who last week he said, I win, I just win, look me up. If you look, he was at IUP. He had last 2 seasons, there was 9-3, 10-2. Then Elon, 8-4, 6-5. Then James Madison, 14-2, 7-1.
And
the COVID year.
Elon also making the NCAA tournament, which they hadn't done. Earned back-to-back playoff appearances for the first time in program history.
Yeah. James Madison, 2019, 14-2. COVID year, 7-1. Then 12-2. And they had made the national championship in 2019.
Natty in 19, and the Final Four the other 2 years.
Yeah. 2022, 8-3. This is, first year in the Sun Belt. Couldn't qualify for a bowl or anything like that. Then last year, 11-1. Made it to the Armed Forces Bowl. He didn't compete for it because he left to go to Indiana. But yeah, I mean, he does just win. It's kind of crazy.
126-35 record as a head coach.
Yeah.
And he was also the recruiting coordinator on the original staff for Nick Saban in 2007. And then that team turned into a wagon.
Yeah.
And he had the likes of Julio Jones, Mark Ingram, Donta Hightower, 6 first-round draft choices from the 2008 recruiting class, which he was the coordinator for. So this dude knows how to win, and he knows how to recruit. I don't know what he does. I don't know what kind of voodoo magic, what kind of swindling and stuff that he's pulling out, but he gets it done wherever. And this is the first program it's Indiana. It's not like it's a huge history of winning, but they got resources. They can win if they want to, I think. I think Indiana can be a consistent winning team. And I don't know if Cignetti, his career has basically been, I'm going to go to this place that's floundering, turn it around, and then get a better job. He's going to be even this summer, he's going to be the hottest free, any big school. Florida Florida should call him. They should have already called.
Florida State is. I mean, Norville on the
Florida
hot
State,
seat.
same thing. Like, there's a lot of big time schools. Oklahoma. If you're Oklahoma and you got the Venables era in the SEC, are you like, should we just send a bag to Cignetti and hope see if he can, get us up to speed? Like, there's so many teams that are going to be begging for this guy at the end of the year. I don't know if he does it this year or not. Maybe he stays at Indiana 1 year and turns the team around. Maybe he stays here for 10 years and turns Indiana into a powerhouse in the Big Ten. I believe he can do both those things, though. I think he could turn Indiana into that. I think the recruiting ground is great. Obviously, in the Midwest, he can recruit in Ohio. There, he can recruit in Kentucky and start, dipping into the South a little bit. Illinois is a great recruiting ground. A lot of these teams go into there too. Like Wisconsin, like he's shown that he could dominate in the recruiting game, and now he's got Big Ten resources. He could just be a problem for all these teams. Where we're seeing like maybe like if it's him head to head with Wisconsin recruiting wise, he's probably winning those guys now, where Wisconsin would have won them in the past, and just teams like that. I don't know. It's scary for that. I'd be scared if I was a Big Ten team that's not Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon right now, honestly, because Michigan, you have to say you're a little nervous after everything this year.
After this season, and does Sherrod Moore not have it? Is he not?
Yeah. Besides those three teams who are pretty Teflon with where they are in the national rankings and everything, Indiana's coming for the rest of that Big Ten, and they might be coming for those.
I wanted to look later. I just wanted to see quick where they are right now. 53rd in the nation for the recruiting class for 2025. So
that's crazy.
He's got some movement he's got to do to get him going, and that's obviously his first class. But they always talk about it's like 3 years with a coach. So if he decides to stick around, we'll see. Like that's the big thing about this year too. Like Kirschwork, transfer quarterback, wasn't hit at him with him at James Madison, but was a good quarterback in the MAC, transferred in, and then some of those key players on defense that he's got in there right now are guys from James Madison. So once that well dries up, though, I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see his first couple like recruiting class in Indiana, and if he is able to get in that top talent, because right now he hasn't done it yet with this first class. So we'll have to see down the road if they're going to be pulling people in. But if anybody can do it, he's won everywhere. It's not surprising. So I think we're both going Indiana that game. You got a score prediction?
100-0. I don't know.
No.
I think it's gonna be like 45-10. I think they're gonna destroy Boston.
Yeah, I would think that. Yeah.
All right, we're wrapping up here. We've got Oregon and Illinois, 3:30 on CBS. Huge game. The spread, I think that's way too high for this game, but I think it could end up being there's a scenario where this game gets out of hand right away and Oregon just runs up the score early on Illinois, and Illinois going down big would not be good for them. But there's also a game where Illinois strength is in the trenches. That's where Bielema wants to build too, and that's why they are 6-1 and on the cusp. This is a special season for Illinois. They were 5-7 last year, I think. So this is a team that has done a complete turnaround, and this is their Super Bowl basically in this game. I think that they keep it close and muck it up for at least 2.5 quarters. Do I think that they can do it into the fourth quarter? I think there's danger that Oregon could run away in this game. But I love this Illinois team. The only loss this year at Penn State, they couldn't move the ball at all, but the defense played strong. So now they're here at Oregon, another shot at a top, 5-10 team, whatever. I like they've been battle tested. I'm interested to see how Illinois comes out against Oregon. I think it's closer. I think the score is lower than people are going to think, but I ultimately do think Oregon pulls out of this one with a win, even though it's not.
Yeah, you were questioning them as the number one seed. Yeah, I think Oregon wins. I can't hear you. Did you mute?
I don't think they're the best team in the country.
No, I know. I don't know if Oregon's the best team in the country. I think though that there's a high chance that they're just going to win out for the rest of the year. They got through their toughest competition in Ohio State, and I think their path to the let's keep it at 3:30, right? Yeah, I'm just looking at Oregon's schedule the rest of the way. They got this game against Illinois, at Michigan, home against Maryland, at Wisconsin, home against Washington. So
At
the
Michigan's
two road
tricky. At
at
Michigan's
Michigan and
tricky
at
for
Wisconsin, I think are both tricky. Depending on especially what time it.
Depending on what happens with Wisconsin against Penn State today, I'll decide if it's tricky for Oregon. Because if Penn State just goes in there and washes up Wisconsin and Madison at a night game, I'm gonna think Oregon's gonna do the same thing. But maybe I should travel.
It's the travel you got to think of too.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing,
true.
and that's part of the reason why
I'm worried about. I'm worried about next week at Michigan for them. Honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Michigan's defense will give them issues. I think that what's nice for Michigan is that they play Illinois first, because whatever Illinois does, if they can slow down Oregon, Michigan's defense can do the same thing that Illinois' defense can do.
Yeah, that's true.
I truly believe that. So I think if Illinois played that game at Michigan, it's probably 21-7 Michigan. Honestly,
that's also 3:30. That's also 3:30 CBS. It's already announced.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's a huge CBS game next week. That's got to be one of their ones they've been looking for. What's the NBC game then? What did they not get? Because I'm assuming that
Penn State, Ohio State's big noon.
Big noon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I don't know.
Maybe Indiana. There's still some games up in the air. It looks like Minnesota, Illinois is TBD, and Indiana, Michigan State. So they're probably waiting to see how this game goes, honestly, with Illinois. If Illinois wins, maybe they'll go there, but maybe they'll just go to Indiana, Michigan State too for Saturday.
NBC really hasn't announced their game. Whatever. But
yeah.
No, I don't know. I think Oregon. I think it's just their path is clear to be a 12-0 team going into the Big Ten championship, and then depending on that game next week between Penn State and Ohio State, that's who the opponent is going to. Well, because of tiebreakers and stuff, how it works out. I believe if Penn State goes undefeated, then it would be them and Oregon. If Oregon's undefeated, I think it's them in the Big Ten championship. The way the tiebreak would work out. In the case that Indiana also goes undefeated, that's the scenario there. The first someone tweeted it out earlier this week. The first tiebreaker is it's like against like common opponents or something like that.
Okay.
It's like scores against common opponents in the Big Ten. Let me look it up.
See, all these should just be highest ranking in the college football playoff, and let the playoff committee decide if it comes down to a tiebreaker. That's my opinion, honestly. If you're gonna live by the committee, die guy the committee, go all out with it.
Big Ten tiebreaker for 3 teams. Here we go. So, okay. This is the first one, apparently. Winning percentage in games among the tied teams. Well, obviously.
If they were all undefeated, it'd be 100.
Yeah, so you got to move on to the next one.
So basically the first thing is but the first tiebreaker essentially is if you have the same conference record, but you're 10-2 and the other 2 teams are 11-1, you're screwed. That's essentially what they're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Record against all common conference opponents.
Okay.
So Oregon.
I don't know. We don't got to.
The biggest thing is Ohio State. If they all beat Ohio State, that's the thing. It's it's all.
That's happening.
Michigan.
That's the thing about the Buckeyes with these undefeated teams is there's no way Ohio State is losing to all three of them. Oregon, Penn State. They might lose to 2. I would be willing to believe they'll lose to 2. They're not losing to all 3 though.
No.
There's no way.
No, because when was the last time you ever saw an Ohio State team they lost like obviously Michigan would be the biggest game at the end of the year, but like they would lose their biggest games of the year.
But maybe I'm wrong, and this is the changing of the guard with what we were just talking about with Cignetti and Indiana, lighting it up, and Oregon being welcome to the conference. That could be just enough margin that knocks the Buckeyes down. If and then Penn State's obviously this is their best chance they've had since 2016. So that's where we're at. But they got at Wisconsin, which we could have talked about today too, because Wisconsin's also 3-1 in the conference.
Big game there. That's 7:30 NBC. And it's gonna be, crazy at Camp Randall at night. That's a huge test. A game that I can't look past before Ohio State next week. For Penn State, it's obviously massive. But yeah, stick to this. Illinois, Oregon. I think Oregon is just on their way to being a 12-0 team. I think Illinois is a good team. Luke Altmaier is playing good football. Their wide receiver Pat Bryant, he hasn't been putting up as crazy a stats as he did those first 4 weeks in the season. But he's still solid. Altmaier takes care of the ball. That one pick he has on the season is that game against Penn State. So in one loss, their one loss. And then they have Gabe Lucas, their linebackers got 5.5 sacks on the season, tied for second in the conference. Oregon also has a guy with 5.5 sacks on the season. In Mateo Uiagalelei. It's DJU's brother. Who they're both playing great defense. Oregon, this is the thing. Altmaier doesn't turn the ball over much. He turned that ball over twice against Penn State. It was the pick, and then he got strip sacked by Abdul Carter. Oregon doesn't cause turnovers. They only have 9 caused turnovers on the season.
That's
so
crazy.
If Altmaier takes care of the ball and they don't fall behind Oregon that quickly, if their defense can hold out, it's going to be a close game. And that's like the thing. This 22.5 spread, that's absurd. I'm gonna take Oregon because I just think they are better, but it's gonna be a close game. It's not gonna be a blowout. I think it has the making of like a 27 to like 20 game, 1-score game.
I think so too. I think Illinois keeps it close and mucks it up in this game, but Oregon gets it done. Would you say 21-17? That you just
27 to 20.
27-20. I think 21-17 is what I'm going with.
Okay.
I think that's big. I don't think it's first. I think it's gonna be a first team to 20 type Big Ten football matchup there.
We gotta look at these better. For us when we do these 4 picks, if we're right on our picks better, we gotta keep better track of that.
Yeah, I know. Well, we are right. We're always right.
Right. I know. A couple weeks ago, we went 3 out of 4 because I think we picked Ole Miss to beat LSU, and they obviously that LSU got that dub. But I think we were 3 out of 4 for 2 weeks ago. But fun week of college football, fun weekend, I should say. It is a full. I mean, it is a week because it keeps on wrapping over. We have football every day, but no, fun Saturday we got today.
Yeah, even on top of Michigan State, Michigan should be fun. Like that. That's always a fun game.
Mm-hmm.
Some interesting. Florida State, Miami is tomorrow. Like this is a bad Florida State team, but still Texas
rivalry.
Which we probably should have talked about Texas and Vanderbilt today. Honestly, Texas coming off the loss last week to Georgia, and now immediately going into the Lions den there, I guess.
Apparently.
In Nashville.
Of a ranked
number 25, number 25
ranked Vandy team. That was the thing people posted to it was they said this is beautiful, and it was Army 23, Navy 24, Vanderbilt 25.
It is beautiful. That's crazy. Parody, baby. That's
parody. That is parody. But no, I mean, we're not going to go too much into that game, but I mean, Texas, they got their welcome to the SEC moment last week.
They did.
Hopefully they don't have another one.
About that, I was just saying. Now the thing with the SEC is, you can't let it roll over because next week that team is ready for you. Also, Missouri at Alabama, definitely a playoff elimination game there for those 2 teams.
Yes,
number
both
21
those
ranked Missouri at number 15 Alabama. Bama just. Well, I mean, I guess Missouri they have to win this game to make the playoff. They're already at 21 at 6-1. They need
because they're not getting they're not. I mean, they were a top 10 team coming in. They're not respected at all.
Yeah,
and Bama, if they have a third loss, I mean, they're
Bama's. This is a tough stretch because this is always going to be a tough stretch this year. Tennessee last week with the loss. Obviously they lost 24-17 to Tennessee. Then they have Mizzou this week and then at LSU next week. That was always going to be a murderer's row stretch for them. So we'll see. They have to win out basically, I think, to make the playoff at this point. So tough for Bama. Any other interesting game here of note? I guess Oklahoma and Ole Miss too. Ole Miss desperation time, but who knows with Oklahoma there. Kansas State should be fun. A lot of rivalry games this week. So
Kansas State will be fun. No matter
San Jose
Kansas
State, Fresno State, Mo.
That is big. I was looking at that.
Huge matchup in the Mountain West. In the Mountain West Conference there.
That is big.
Big rivalry.
San Jose State, best wide receiver in the country with Nash?
Maybe. I think it's
possible.
I'm sorry.
Well, he's a freshman.
And then, it's going to be a fun day of games, though. So we'll see you all. Thank you. Shout out to our sponsor, Batavia Downs. Enjoy the slate.